One Zambia, One Nation. Thank you so much for joining us for the main news here on ZNBC TV1. To present the news, my name is Chiwanza Nachalwe, and on sign language we have Obet Mamwe. The headlines in the news. President Edgar Lungu has called on traditional leaders to partner with government in sensitizing communities on the importance of sending girls to school. Former First Lady Maureen Mwanawasa has called for increased efforts in research and development to modernize local concepts in business. Minister of General Education David Mavumba has ordered the Infrastructure Department in the ministry to find a lasting solution to the gully that is posing a threat to infrastructure at Kazungula Boarding School. And Livingston City Mayor Eugene Mapuo has called on the Zambia Tourism Agency to partner with organizing committees of the various traditional ceremonies to promote and market the country's cultural heritage. And now the news in detail. President Edgar Lungu has called on traditional leaders to partner with government in sensitizing communities on the importance of sending girls to school as a vehicle to fighting early marriages. President Lungu says it will be difficult for the nation to advance in girls, especially those in rural areas, if those in rural areas are not educated. This is according to a message delivered to Senior Chief Puta of the Wile people by Minister of Housing and Infrastructure Development Ronald Chitotela on the sidelines of the Wilile traditional ceremony, which was held on Saturday. This year's ceremony was held under the theme Icha Kukonda Ulubilo, Naiwe Chikonde Ulubilo, meaning reacting to contingencies or challenges appropriately and without procrastinating. Masao Somkwayaya has the details in this report.
A grandiose entry by Senior Chief Puta into the main arena at the Builile traditional ceremony sets the event in full gear. The traditional leader is escorted by dancing and singing subjects. At this year's ceremony held on Saturday, Senior Chief Puta, who spoke through the ceremony's organizing committee, Chairman General Dr. Katele Kalumba, thanked government for revising upwards the purchase price for a 50 kg bag of maize.
The revision in the floor price of maize that the PF government has done, that is what it means to be a listening government. Our people are also free to fetch higher prices.
The senior chief also wants government to put closure to the issue of the construction of the Kashikishi-Lonchinda road, which he says has been pending for a long time.
We are simply appealing to you as our government in a democratic society to do that which is reasonable, address an old problem which is getting worse. Where others failed, please use your time Zambians have given you to solve our road problem.
In September last year, we signed a contract at the tune of 750 million kwacha with this Sino Hydro so that he can move on site and start the road. And true to that word, we've paid him 37 million kwacha mobilization fee and that 50% mobilization in Mununga.
Earlier, Minister of Housing and Infrastructure Development Ronald Chitotela said President Lungu wants traditional leaders to partner with government in the fight against child marriages.
The greatest concern of the president is early marriages in our chiefdoms. That if we don't send our children to school, it will become very difficult. Then we are a nation that will not advance.
This year's ceremony was held under the theme Icha Kukonko Lubilo, Naiwe Kuchikonko Lubilo. Masaoso Mkwayaya, ZNBC News, Chiengi, Lapola Province.
Minister of National Planning and Development Alexander Chiteme says he is concerned with the lack of interest shown by Zambians in the $50 million aquaculture fund meant to boost job creation and economic growth. Mr. Chiteme says it is disappointing that Zambian youths and farmers are failing to tap into the fund and venture into fish farming, which has a lucrative local market. He was speaking during the first celebratory mass for newly ordained priest Father Mark Ngwenya at the Our Lady of Africa parish in Kitwe. Details in this report.
They couldn't resist a dance to celebrate their own, and they did it in style. These were part of congregants and priests at the celebratory Mass for Father Mark Ngwenya. The Mass, held at Our Lady of Africa Catholic Parish in Kitwe, attracted scores of congregants and members of the clergy. The Mass, which was attended by National Planning Minister Alexander Chiteme, was punctuated by hymns of praise and thanksgiving.
But urbanization is killing us. Look how we are being squeezed and squashed together. When we have a disease like cholera, we start dying like rats. Because we don't want to space out. We want our economy to be mono all the time. We have to diversify it.
And in his homily, Father Augustine Mwewa urged the general citizenry to explore the country's abundant natural resources to improve their standard of living. He also took a swipe at members of the clergy competing with some named politicians to amass wealth at the expense of those they are called to save.
Zambia is a beautiful country. We have so much resource, and we will be punished by God for complaining that we are poor. Foreigners are appreciating what we have as Zambians, and we are busy complaining.
Father Ngwenya thanked congregants at Our Lady of Africa Parish for their support. The congregants took turns to interact with their new priest, while for others the emotions were too high. But for these, all they needed was a dance, and they had every reason to. Lillian Kalaba, ZNBC News, Kitwe.
Zambia and Kuwait are in the coming month expected to sign several memoranda of understanding (MOUs) that will see Zambia export human resource in areas such as engineering, which the Persian Gulf nation desperately needs. Minister of Foreign Affairs Joseph Malanji has told ZNBC News in Kuwait City this afternoon that Kuwait has asked Zambia to finalize the MOUs so that relations between the two countries can be enhanced. Paul Shalala reports.
Foreign Affairs Minister Joseph Malanji has met his Kuwaiti counterpart, Sabah Al-Khalid Al-Sabah. Sheikh Al-Sabah, who is also the country's acting Prime Minister, held a closed-door meeting with Mr. Malanji in Kuwait City this afternoon. In the one-hour meeting, the two leaders discussed a wide range of issues ranging from diplomacy to trade.
Kuwait is really looking forward to work with the Zambian government. All they have requested for is to make sure we have MOUs in place, and we have agreed that within the coming 1 month we should have all memorandums of understanding signed. As you may know, Zambia has got human capital from health, engineering, and I should say all sectors. So we're in agreement that we should start exporting our human capital to Kuwait, because our relationship should not just be a one-way movement. We are looking at a mutual relationship from where both countries can gain from.
Mr. Malanji, who came to Kuwait as President Edgar Lungu's special envoy, delivered the head of state's message to the Emir of Qatar through the acting Prime Minister.
The message from His Excellency the President has warmly been welcomed by the Kuwait government, and they look forward to further interactions at high level.
In the coming month, technocrats from both Zambia and Kuwait will be working together to ensure that economic relations between the two countries are enhanced. Kuwait wants to tap into Zambia's skilled human resource, while Zambia needs investments in areas such as energy and agriculture. Paul Shalala, ZNBC News in Kuwait.
Former First Lady Maureen Mwanawasa has called for increased efforts in research and development to modernize local concepts in business. Dr. Mwanawasa says traditional concepts need to be modeled into working tools through research. She is happy with a successful project in which women rearing village chickens using traditional methods have upgraded their approach. The former First Lady has challenged women and youths in business to be innovative to compete on the international international scene favorably. She was speaking to ZNBC News at the Agriculture and Commercial Show, where she toured several stands.
It's information, but also it creates an opportunity for industries to grow. Out of that, if you are talking of packaging, the young people must come on board. What is in the market? How can we grow our industry using what is existing? What are we importing which we can replace by being innovative ourselves and doing it as a country? So opportunities are there, but if you sit back, you need to go where things are happening. Every challenge creates an opportunity. So a challenge must not always be looked at as negative, but what can you make out of that challenge? It always creates a positive opportunity, and I want to repeat, young people need to come on board.
Minister of Agriculture Michael Katambo says government attaches great importance to employment creation through agriculture. Mr. Katambo says this is why government is enabling a good working environment for the private sector to invest in agriculture. He was speaking in Lusaka today during the signing ceremony between Zongyang Eco Agriculture Industrial Park and DVR to set up an agro plant. Zongyang Group Chairperson Sheng Shendi says Zongyang Eco Agriculture Industrial Park to be set up will contribute to the economic development of the country. Mr. Shen has also thanked Zambia DVR Agriculture Company for providing land to set up the agricultural park. Meanwhile, Chinese ambassador to Zambia Li Ji has reiterated the Chinese government's commitment to boost Zambia's agriculture sector.
The Ministry of Agriculture will fully provide full assistance to enable the Chinese agricultural experts to work in the Eco Agricultural Industrial Park as soon as possible and to bring new technologies and equipment to benefit the people of Zambia.
These programs are certainly in line with the Zambia government development strategy and vision. They will not only promote the development of Zambia's agriculture sector and benefit the Zambia people, but also provide good opportunities for Chinese enterprises to explore overseas markets. The cooperation between China and Zambia has brought real benefits to both sides.
造福赞比亚人民 为“一带一路”农业发展项目树立典范。
In recent years, as One Belt, One Road construction continuously advances forward, more and more Jiangxi enterprises have gone abroad and gone global, and have become important envoys to promoting non-governmental exchanges and cooperation, and peace and development as well.
We go for our first commercial break. Stay tuned for more news after that. Keep watching. We continue with the news. HIVOS, an international development agency promoting sustainable foods, has partnered with the private sector to promote value addition to agro-produce in Zambia. HIVOS Southern Africa manager, Sustainable Diets for All, William Chilufya, says the organization is using its Impact Investment Fund to partner with the private sector to support preservation of agro-produce. Brian Mwale has the details in this report.
Value addition to agro-produce is slowly taking shape in Zambia as many people and organizations are investing in it. HIVOS, an international development agency promoting sustainable food, has turned to partnerships with the private sector in Zambia to promote value addition and food preservation. William Chilufya is HIVOS Southern Africa manager, Sustainable Diets for All.
We are now partnering with the private sector to actually invest in food and ensuring that they also find it very profitable and that they improve on the levels of preserving these foods.
And President Edgar Lungu, during the official opening of this year's Zambia Agriculture and Commercial Show, noted the need for innovative ways of adding value to agro-produce.
I urge the private sector to adopt new but cost-efficient ways of adding value to for agricultural produce.
However, access to finance for SMEs remains a key challenge. With the Zambia Credit Guarantee Scheme Limited armed with $5 million to support SMEs, 30% will go towards supporting value addition to agro-produce, as noted by Chief Executive Officer Francis Musonda.
Agriculture, which is taking 30%. Manufacturing is taking 25%.
Value addition efforts made by HIVOS and the empowerment support offered by the Credit Guarantee Scheme resonate with this year's show theme, supporting sustainable empowerment. Brian Mwale, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
Now, the National Union of Small-Scale Farmers has urged the Food Reserve Agency, FRA, to set up structures for buying maize as it awaits for the moisture content to reduce. Association Director General Frank Kayula says the farmers have awaited for a long time for the initiative, which can save them time and resources. Dr. Kayula, however, says although it is understandable that moisture content affects measurement, most farmers in remote areas store their grain in open spaces. He told ZNBC News in Lusaka that most small-scale farmers, especially in rural areas, highly depend on the Food Reserve Agency to buy the crop. Dr. Kayula further explained that if the agency takes long to start buying the maize, most farmers in remote areas will use all their stock, adding that it will affect them in the next farming season.
Because even them, they'll keep it first in the open, where they'll be purchasing, and then they'll go. In terms of water and weight, yeah, we understand the issue, but that's a very little mark. 0.8% is very little. We will just appeal that they go on. Otherwise, we will continue waiting and waiting until the farmers will completely be having no money at all. And once they run completely of money, they'll start feeding and using that which is supposed to be helping them in the future. They start selling off some of the assets, and we don't want them to sell the assets. That's why we are appealing to our brothers that just come in and start buying from these farmers. They highly depend on FRA.
Yesterday, the Food Reserve Agency said they are likely to start buying maize in the next 3 days when the moisture content reduces to 12.5%. Indol Zambia Bank says Zambia's economic parameters are positive. Bank Managing Director Mashek Kumar Bansel says this is evidenced by the sound economic policy interventions being pursued by government. Mr. Bansel says parameters such as reduction in inflation and lending rates have helped government yield desired fiscal consolidation. He says a drop in annual inflation rate has boosted investor confidence, thereby attracting foreign direct investment. Mr. Bansel was speaking to ZNBC at the ongoing 92nd Agriculture and Commercial Show in Lusaka. He further says the bank is impressed that despite global economic turbulences, government has managed the economy well.
Zambian economy, see, all the major, as I mentioned, economic parameters are positive, and that is the reason that we have witnessed in last 1 year or so a good number of foreign direct investment in the Zambian economy, and that is a very positive indications that that in a very difficult situation also we have performed well. Our economy has performed well, and I am quite hopeful that in time to come more foreign investment will come to Zambian economy. We are very delighted as a banker that we have been provided with a very good and level playing platform and field by the government of Zambia as well as Bank of Zambia. We can see that now statutory liquidity ratio is quite minimum, that is comparable to some of the good developing economies or Europe.
Kasumbalesa Immigration Officer in Charge, Maclean Hafumba, says authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, have issued instructions to bar presidential aspirant Moses Katumbi from entering that country. And Mr. Katumbi says he will engage the international community to compel authorities in the DRC to allow him file nominations ahead of polls in December 23rd. Lydian Kalaba has details in this report.
It is the second time he has failed to enter his country in the last 2 days. This is because authorities in the Democratic Republic of Congo has denied Moses Katumbi entry into that country. Mr. Katumbi, a presidential candidate in the delayed December polls, wants to file his nomination papers ahead of Wednesday's August 8th deadline.
The Congolese government has issued a statement, or they contacted our government to say that even if we were to clear him from this end, he's not going to be permitted entry into Congo. So we've been advised that we talk to him, we tell him that the best he can do is to leave and return. And the best place, I think, not to be near Kasumbalesa. Maybe he should go back to Kitwe or Lusaka.
Business at Kasumbalesa border post came to a standstill as scores of Congolese waited for Mr. Katumbi's triumphant entry into the DRC. But that was not to be. Mr. Katumbi is not a happy man.
So I tried my best. I'll write to the head of state. We need peace in Congo, because if Congo is in peace, Zambia, even all the region are going to be in peace. Trying to teach, to stop somebody. Mr. Kabila is not God. What is important, what we need really is to have free and fair and inclusive election. We need also to learn good what is going on in Zambia, and I thank the Zambian authority.
The former Katanga governor and his delegation are still hopeful.
Mr. Moise Katumbi, the President Moise Katumbi, will seize the authority of the region, the SADC, and also the African Union and the international community. They witness what is happening in Congo today. So we are going to send letters to head of states and to request for their support for a free and fair electoral process. After that, we will decide what will happen. But for sure, we are decided, and President Moise Katumbi is totally decided, determined to file his candidacy before the 8th of August, because it's the deadline to file candidacy for the next presidential elections in the 23rd of December.
It remains to be seen if Mr. Katumbi will manage to file his nominations by Wednesday this week ahead of the anticipated first democratic polls in the DRC scheduled for December. Lilian Kalawa, ZNBC News, Kasumbalesa.
Lusaka Mayor Mal Sampa says there is need to modernize shanty compounds in Lusaka. Mr. Sampa says within 100 days he will look at the viability of doing the project, which may take time to be completed. He further says there is need for all compounds in the city to have high-rise housing units like in Kabwata Township, so that everyone can have access to accommodation owned by the council. Mr. Sampa has told ZNBC News that the project will be done under the urbanization policy, which was already launched by the government. Meanwhile, Mr. Sampa says he is working hard to implement the promises he made during the mayoral campaigns. Speaking during a tree planting exercise in Lusaka's Kabwata constituency, the Lusaka mayor also said he will spend less time in the office but concentrate on field work. And area member of parliament, Given Lubinda, urged residents in his constituency to work with Mr. Sampa to improve the state of the capital city.
All the shanty compounds, and no one will have their houses demolished. Will do the improvement around the existing structures. The PF government has already done up the roads in the compounds. They've done up the tar roads, and with that, what remains now is to urbanize the compounds. What stops us having the high-rise flats in all the compounds like they have in Kabwata, but we improve on that and make them high-rise flats, so that from where we have 10 or 20 small houses, if we negotiate with those owners, and as a council we buy off those houses, and where we put high-rise flats that can have even 100 flats going up, so that every
Reverend Austin Singwa from St. John's United Church of Zambia congregation in Kabwe has praised President Edgar Lungu for introducing austerity measures. Reverend Singwa said this during a church service which was attended by Central Province Minister Sidney Mushanga and Kabwe Central Member of Parliament Tutu Angulube. He says the introduction of the austerity measures shows how much passion President Lungu has for the country. At the same function, Central Province Minister Sidney Mushanga said the church plays a pivotal role in ensuring peace and unity in the country. Mr. Mushanga also donated 100 pockets of cement towards the construction of a 1,000 capacity new St. John's Church. Meanwhile, Kabwe Central Member of Parliament Tutu Angulube said he will work with his counterpart to ensure the people of Kabwe get meaningful development. We'll have more on this story just after this break. Keep watching. We continue with the news. The Islamic Supreme Council of Zambia says dialogue is the only way that civilized people resolve conflicts. Council Secretary General Shaban Piri has since described as positive the steps taken by the ruling Patriotic Front PF and the opposition UPND to narrow their political differences and end a wave of violence that occurs during elections. Dr. Piri further says the peace accord signed between the ruling PF and the UPND reflects true democracy. He says the peace exhibited before and after the Lusaka mayor by-election is proof that Zambians are peaceful people. Dr. Piri says the Islamic community is happy that the two major political parties have come to a common understanding.
Should come to a common understanding and apply the maturity in the manner in which they conduct themselves, because these are the major political parties that we have in the country. And it was quite pleasing that the parties agreed on a peaceful campaign and as well as also the peaceful elections. We noticed that there was peace throughout the process. We haven't recorded instances of violence, and we are very happy that that's what we expect as religious people. And I further also recommend that the Electoral Commission of Zambia did a great job to ensure that the elections went well, and as well as the general public conducted themselves very well. And we are happy with this kind of process. And we feel that dialogue is the only way in which civilized people should resolve the conflict. We don't resort to violence. Violence is actually the opposite of civilization. So being civilized people and as democratic people, Zambia has actually demonstrated from the beginning as a peaceful country, as well as also as a democratic country. So indeed, what has been exhibited in these elections is a true reflection of democracy.
Minister of General Education David Mabumba has ordered the Infrastructure Department in the ministry to find a lasting solution to the gully that is posing a threat to infrastructure at Kazungula Boarding School. Mr. Mabumba is disappointed that despite government recently spending a huge sum of money to address the challenge, the gully is still posing a threat to the school. He was speaking after inspecting the site. Justin Akakulibelwa now reports.
The threat to infrastructure at Kazungula Boarding School is still on because the gully that was recently buried is resurfacing as the gabion basket formula that was employed here is cracking and slowly giving in. General Education Minister David Mabumba is concerned that the threat, which was thought to have disappeared, is still on.
This solution that we provided is not sustainable. You can see still it's being eaten. What was provided there, some part of concrete is also cracks are developing. So the question is, what next? What next is to save this school here, and we need to find a permanent solution, and we can.
Mr. Mabumba wants the intervention of the military personnel for a cost-effective and lasting solution.
The solution that was applied here,
it's an international engineering solution where you have Lusaka, you provide the gabion, the rocks to allow the water to permeate. Our colleagues from infrastructure also came, and the solution they provided is the same.
Yeah, the infrastructure.
It's the same solution because
the Minister of Infrastructure, they are the ones who came up.
Yeah.
But have we brought our colleagues from Zambia Army, ZNBC to look at this challenge we have and maybe think around together? Because if obviously we want to bring a contractor, this project is going to be very expensive. But if we use an in-house solution, say the Zambia Army, they have delivered projects at very minimal cost for this country.
With the rain season knocking, the fear is that the cracked concrete surfaces, which were done at a huge cost, will be knocked out and expose the school to a greater threat. Hence the need to find a lasting solution between now and the first drops of the rain. Justin Akakulubelwa, ZNBC News, Livingstone.
Livingstone City Mayor Eugene Mapuo has called on the Zambia Tourism Agency ZTA to partner with organizing committees of various traditional ceremonies to fully promote and market the country's cultural heritage as a tourism product. Mr. Mapuo says the different cultural and unique events that Zambia is blessed with gives the country a competitive advantage in tourism marketing through a diversified tourism product. He said this in Livingstone last evening when he graced the 2018 Likumbi Liamize traditional ceremony fundraising braai. Details in this report.
Likumbi Liamize traditional ceremony of the Luvale-speaking people of northwestern province of Zambia is held every year in August. This year, the dates have been slated between 22nd and 25th August, and the Likumbi Liamize Cultural Association Livingstone Committee has been preparing for the ceremony to be held in Zambezi district. Livingstone City Mayor Eugene Mapuo graced the fundraising braai for the ceremony, which showcased some of the performances expected this year.
I wish to call upon the Zambia tourism agents to fully promote and market the heritage locally and internationally, so that tourists who travel to Zambia must not only end in Livingstone. Culture defines us, and also culture makes us unique people in Zambia.
Livingstone Member of Parliament Matthews Jerry also attended the event and is happy that the rich cultural heritage is being passed on to different generations.
These traditional ceremonies are indeed a uniting factor to this country, Zambia. This is a time when we showcase our heritage, where we came from and where we are and where we are going as a people. I was happy when I saw the young ones dancing. It indeed shows that the elderly people have managed to pass on the rich heritage to this generation.
The organizing committee has assured of a peaceful environment during the ceremony.
We welcome all people, regardless of color, race, religion, belief, or creed. We invite you to take part and marry with us.
The ceremony held at Senior Chief Ndungu's Palace at Mize Capital in Zambezi district is well known for the Makishi performances, which has been recognized by UNESCO as World Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity. Angela Limonya, ZNBC News in Livingstone.
We take our last commercial break. We continue with the rest of the news after that. Keep watching. We continue with the news. The Lusaka City Council, LCC, says it is collecting garbage in line with the Site and Restoration 7 Days Ultimatum that has been issued by the Zambia Environmental Management Agency. Lusaka City Council Public Relations Manager George Sichimba, however, says the council will issue an official statement soon to respond to the ultimatum. Patricia Banda has the details in this report.
The indiscriminate disposal of waste in some parts of Lusaka has always been a concern to the Zambia Environmental Management Agency, ZEMA. Now, ZEMA Corporate Affairs Manager Irene Chipili has swung into action and directed the Lusaka City Council to clean up the city within 7 days.
This relates to the indiscriminate disposal of waste and the poor management waste in general in a number of selected areas. This time we are targeting a site on Katimamulilo Road in Garden Compound, in Mrs. Compound and the town center. So Lusaka City Council has been ordered to clean up those areas to our satisfaction as an agency, and also to put in place measures to ensure that there's no continued disposal of waste in those areas.
Under this order, ZEMA is also reminding all local authorities to ensure management of waste in their districts. Lusaka City Council Public Relations Manager George Sichimba explains what the council is doing about this order.
We need to double up quite okay. In certain places it's illegal dumping of waste, where people are dumping waste illegally. We might not know that there's even waste because we know where we are supposed to pick waste. But certain places are illegal dumping. The Kamwala one, yes, we collect every after 2 days. But the challenge that we have been explaining there is that some people are going to dump there illegally at night. And so even when we wait for 2 days, we find that the garbage is piling.
The cleanup is in line with the Keep Zambia Clean, Green and Health campaign. Patricia Banda, ZNBC News, Lusaka.
In sports, over 100 junior tennis players are expected to participate in the first Junior Tennis Championship to be held in Solwezi, Northwestern Province next week. This follows a sponsorship deal between Zambia Tennis Association in partnership with First Quantum Minerals worth 230,000 kwacha. Speaking at a media briefing today, Zambia Tennis Association President Wayne Msiska said a committee will be formed to oversee the success of the tournament. Msiska said the tournament will attract about 3 categories, starting with the under-18. And First Quantum Minerals Public Relations Manager Godfrey Msiska has described the partnership as a worthwhile investment into talent identification in Zambia. The championship is slated for 13th to the 17th of August 2018. To end the news, we take a look at the headlines again. President Edgar Lungu has called on traditional leaders to partner with government in sensitizing communities on the importance of sending girls to school. Former First Lady Maureen Mwanawasa has called for increased effort in research and development to modernize local concepts in business. Minister of General Education David Mabumba has ordered the infrastructure department in the ministry to find a lasting solution to the gully that is posing a threat to infrastructure at Kazungula Board. And Livingston City Mayor Eugene Mapuo has called on the Zambia Tourism Agency to partner with organizing committees of various traditional ceremonies to promote and market the country's cultural heritage. And that's the end of the news for this hour. For more news, we'll be back at 22 hours with another news bulletin. My name is Chiwanza Nachalwe. Thank you so much for watching. See you then.